Well, I'm going to call it right now. This is the TV to beat in 2026, and stay tuned to find out why. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Phil Hinton and this is the LG G6. It's a flagship model from LG that features a primary RGB tandem 4-stack OLED panel and the brand new Alpha 11 Gen 3 processor. This ups the picture quality stakes and fixes all of the major issues that I reported on with the G5 last year. But before we get stuck into the G6 review, I need to thank all of our subscribers for continuing to support our channel. It really is appreciated. And if you watch our content but you haven't quite clicked that subscribe button just yet, then please do me a favour and support our reviews by giving it a click. Many thanks for your support. Our reviews are also never sponsored by the product manufacturer, and we review items independently so you can trust our verdicts and base your buying decisions on the best possible information. We do sometimes feature sponsored messages where we believe it's important to you, our audience, and that we think you'll benefit from it. You can also read our full in-depth review on AVForums, where we go into far more detail than we can cover in a video here, and you can deep dive into all the testing results and the graphs. So what's the big deal with the LG G6? Well, my biggest complaint with the LG G5 last year, and you've probably seen my videos and others, was posterisation, gradational issues and of course overshoot, which were present at the first launch of that TV and which I reported on in my reviews. To be fair, LG were quick to respond and they did eventually fix the issue with Dolby Vision and HDR10 content, which displayed this the worst. The G5 is now a TV that it should have been at launch, and it's a great buy right now at current pricing. It might even be a better buy than the G6 for some of you out there. The LG G6, well, it's a 2026 flagship TV that sits below the signature wallpaper W6 and above the B6 and C6 models. It continues with the primary RGB tandem OLED panel, which was introduced last year with G5, but it does have an all-new powerful Alpha 11 AI Gen 3 processor with dual AI engine. According to LG, this processor adds up to 5.6 times faster NPU performance, along with 50% CPU and 70% GPU processing increases over the Alpha 9 chipset. Given that this is the world's first 6nm SoC developed for a TV, the reduced overall size of the SoC helps with thermal control, efficiency, performance and lifespan, which then allows engineers to push the brightness of the panel further without any major impacts from heat or power consumption. And this is why LG can get more brightness and processing power into the exactly the same primary RGB tandem panel from last year. This Alpha 11 AI Gen 3 processor is also the reason why LG has been able to vastly improve the picture performance on the G6, and the biggest benefit to solving the gremlins seen on last year's G5 is the introduction of 12-bit colour and 13-bit Luma channel processing. This allows the G6 to display probably some of the cleanest images that I've seen in regard to posterisation, overshoot and gradational banding on an LG OLED panel. The panel itself, well, it remains a 10-bit panel, but this extra processing makes all the difference, as you'll find out in the picture quality section of this review. The LG G6, well, it's available in a range of screen sizes from 48, 55, 65, 77, 83 and of course 97 inches. And just like last year, you have two SKUs, so W models, they come with the wall mount, and S models come with a tabletop stand, which offers two height adjustments to accommodate a soundbar underneath the TV. And it's also important to note that the 48-inch and 97-inch sizes, well, they use slightly different panel brightnesses, with the 97-inch doesn't have the 4-stack tandem panel. We will plan later in the year to review the 48-inch version of the G6. And the G6, well, it maintains the same design as G5 with that sleek silver trim bordering around the panel, and the TV's connectivity is split between sideways and downward firing ports at the back, and notably we've got 4 HDMI 2.1 ports here that offer full bandwidth 48 gigabit per second. In the UK, the remote continues to be the large black plastic affair without any backlighting, and it just looks cheap and nasty. LG really need to up the quality here to match the premium TV that this remote is supposed to work with. I do, however, really like the Magic Remote functionality and the pointer, so I'm not having a go at the remote functionality. It's the remote design and the plastic black thing that just looks awful. There's also support for HDR10, HLG Hybrid Log Gamma, Dolby Vision and Dolby Vision IQ with precision detail technology. However, there remains no support for HDR10 Plus, and with some streaming services now adding more titles and support for that format, there is an argument that LG should perhaps follow Philips, TCL, Panasonic and Hisense in offering all these variants for complete customer choice. So LG, over to you. Give us some HDR10 Plus and then you've got everything on board. For viewers prioritising image accuracy, the TV also offers the familiar filmmaker mode, which includes the effective ambient setting for environments with changing brightness. The filmmaker mode has gone through some fine-tuning as well on the G6, with emphasis from the picture engineers to match the reference standard Sony BVM HX3110 colour grading monitor, so that the G6 can compete better in comparisons with that monitor and competing TVs. Shoot out anybody? It also features the same professional tone mapping feature which I found on last year's G5 model, with adjustable clip points for 1000, 4000 and 10,000 HDR masters, enabling direct control of the hard clip or roll-off settings within the menu. This feature is designed for use in content creation and grading environments, and this year LG has added a new tone mapping gain control with a plus and minus 5 range, designed to shift the whole tone curve either towards the darker point or brighter point of the settings. So if you are calibrating or you're using this in a professional environment and the tone map is slightly too dark, then you can brighten it up by moving it the whole curve across, or if it's too bright, then of course you can then take it back to reference as well. The second new control, well, it's just a simple reset button just in case you forget the default values of the set. There's also a new 24-point white balance option in the menu system, which gives you far more options for near black adjustment when calibrating the TV using correct meters and of course software. The new signal levels are at the low end, which allows much better calibration of near black and just above black points. The menu system, well, it's been tweaked and redesigned for the G6 with a slightly darker background, and there's been a few changes to the layout of the menu items. In the picture presets, the Sport option, well, that's been removed for this year, and in the main menu list under Reduce Blue Light, there's also an AI HDR remaster option when watching in SDR, and this changes SDR content by making it look a bit more HDR-like. Well, purists, well, they're going to hate it, but it is an option for casual users who want to boost the brightness along with overly vivid and garish colours. The choice, as they say, is yours. The other changes relate to the general menu, and that's now been split into two, with general being joined by the system menu. Support remains as it was. General has everything in relation to using the set, such as accessibility, AI service, game optimizer, usage and so on, and the system option has the energy saving, network, external devices and additional settings. I've done a full walkthrough of the best settings out of the box for image accuracy, as well as a closer look at these new menu features, and you can watch that video on our YouTube channel, or there should be a card top right of the screen. WebOS 26 continues to be a great system that's simple and easy to use, with well laid out pages of content and cards. You also have AI features that, well, AI is everywhere, isn't it, that can help you with content recommendations and a few other bits and pieces, and you will need a subscription to use some of the new features like Gallery Plus. There's also cards for sport, gaming and more, and you can collate all your different types of favourite sports viewing, including your team, under those cards. Moreover, the LG Gaming Hub, well, it features extensive online gaming capabilities, and of course you can also add a controller in to game on the TV. The company is also pushing its LG channels with different channels of content types, such as LG One, which is their premium content, along with film and spotlight channels, and a lot more. I've been measuring, calibrating and reviewing TVs for the last 2 decades, and I'm also trained and certified by the ISF, THX and PVA industry calibration bodies. Plus, if you want to dive deeper into the G6, you can read the full review over on AVForums. Our testing rig consists of a Meridio 7 generator, portrait displays, Calman Ultimate software, a Klein K10 meter profiled to a Jetty 1511 high-res spectral, and these are really high-quality measuring and calibration devices, so you can trust the numbers. Our friends at Portrait Displays have sponsored this section of the review as they'd like to bring to your attention Calibration as a Service, or CAS for short. And when we talk about accurate picture quality, whether it's in your living room or in a professional studio, well, that all comes down to the picture being calibrated. It's an important step to consider for your flagship TV. If you're making a big purchase like this LG G6, you want to get the absolute best image quality from your TV, but also your sources. The Calman software that we use in this review is also the industry standard software used to measure, adjust and verify how a display actually reproduces colour, brightness, contrast, and compares that to how it should look to the industry standards. And the industry standards is what the whole industry in TV, broadcast and film, they all work to and under. The goal of calibration is simple, that what you're watching on screen, no matter what the TV type is, that you're seeing the picture as it was supposed to be seen, mastered, and the creative intent is intact within that. And if you want an easier way to get to that level of accuracy without having to do it for yourself and spending lots and lots of money on kit and calibration gear and meters, well, Calibration as a Service is available through retailers around the world. Just ask your local retailer about display calibration using Calman and then let the professionals handle it. Our thanks to Portrait Displays for their continuing support of our channel. Out of the box in filmmaker mode, the LG G6 is accurate with delta E errors under the visible threshold of 3 until around about 100% brightness. Our grayscale tracking is also good with only a few small drifts with red and blue from 50% stimulus onwards, and gamma tracks well with just a little bit lighter between 10 and 30% stimulus than the full 2.4, and this results in a slightly brighter shadow detail in the SDR content that you watch. With Rec 709, we have excellent tracking of most of the colour saturation points out of the box, with red just being a little bit oversaturated. This is an excellent result for filmmaker mode out of the box, and it is accurate enough that most viewers will enjoy content as it was mastered and intended to be seen. And then set about calibration and looking at the G6 menu system. That was nice and easy to do. However, at the time of this review, the Calman AutoCal feature didn't list the G6 as an available TV, but that will be updated by the time the TV is fully launched in all territories. Calibration always brings out the very best in any TV, as you can set it to the environment and with the source chain used, so picture quality is as accurate as possible. And this was the case with the LG G6, with it measuring an excellent low delta E average of 0.5, which is well below the visible threshold of 3, which means you won't see any errors whatsoever. Gamma also tracks perfectly following the BT1886 standard. And Rec 709 HD colour gamut coverage is also now perfectly accurate, with excellent colour saturation points seen in the graph. The LG G6 can get incredibly accurate for SDR content once it's been calibrated. Moving to HDR, and the best out-of-the-box settings is again filmmaker mode for HDR10 and Dolby Vision. The LG G6 peak brightness measurements demonstrate the capabilities of the new Alpha 11 AI Gen 3 processor, and this G6 review sample, well, it reached 3045 nits at 1%, 3028 at 2%, 2050 at 5%, and 2316 on the industry standard 10% window. Full screen brightness at 100% on the G6 measured in at 432 nits. That's compared to 332 nits from the G5. The smaller window size results are incredibly impressive, as it gives the HDR images superb specular highlight capabilities where required. And with full screen APL now hitting above 400 nits, that adds excellent dynamic range extension for better high APL performance. The PQ EOTF tracking to ST2084 standard within HDR filmmaker mode is very good, with just a slight dip in the just above black area of the tracking, and this will make things look a little bit darker in the shadows. But there is superb adherence to the rest of the standard curve from there. The tracking is the same no matter what the mastering metadata value is, from 1000 nits to 10,000 nits, the tracking remains the same. The DCI-P3 colour gamut results are also very good for an out-of-the-box preset, with just a slight oversaturation in red being the only real issue that's visible on the graph. For actual HDR film viewing, this really wasn't noticeable. We measured BT 2020 gamut coverage at 80% XY and 87% UV, with P3 gamut coverage coming in at 98% XY and 99% UV. And just for those that are interested, the G6 also gets round about 88% colour volume coverage. And the LG G6's primary RGB tandem panel demonstrates a real leap in colour performance compared to G4 and previous generations. Measurements taken with a Jetty SpectraVal 1511 high-res spectral reveal a spectral power distribution featuring more prominent red and green wavelengths. And while it's not achieving the same pure RGB results as QD OLED, for example, primary RGB tandem 4-stack panels are a vast improvement in colour performance for WOLED technology. Okay, I know what's going to happen in the comments. I'm going to give you a word of warning here about the video footage that you're going to view on YouTube, and that's compressed after I upload this video to YouTube. They're going to add compression to that, and that can introduce issues like banding and posterisation that are just not present on the TV or in the footage that I actually filmed. But YouTube does change how the image looks, so bear that in mind when you're looking at the B-roll clips that I'm going to use here. And as always, my camera has a lack of dynamic range, and what you see in these clips is not the same as what I see here in person in my testing environment. We use them for illustration really, and to try and highlight some of the issues so you can see what it is that I'm talking about. But don't put too much weight on the actual picture quality, because it's not the same as you would see in person. Now, screen uniformity. Well, there are extremely faint vertical bands seen in a completely dark room on a 5% brightness slide. They do become entirely invisible when you're viewing dark scene content in a dim room. This is an inherent feature of WOLED panels, and it's nothing that's unusual, and it's certainly not distracting with actual content on this G6 sample. All other brightness levels are clean, with no signs of dirty screen effect, vignetting or colour tinting to the edges of the panel when viewed directly or from the sides. If you get extremely off angle to the TV, then you may see faint colour shift, but it should have no impact on normal viewing distances and angles. The A11 AI Gen 3 processor with dual AI engine adds the 12-bit colour and 13-bit Luma channel processing, and that really helps combat the issues that I noted last year in the launch of the G5 model. These issues were very well documented in my initial review of the 65-inch, and I worked with LG engineers to help them identify the issues along with a few other professionals in the industry, and this resulted in firmware updates that resolved many of the problems that could be possibly fixed. With G6, the intention has been to resolve these posterisation, gradation and overshoot issues that have been a past problem, and with this new powerful SoC, that's certainly the case, because the results are very impressive, with a real noticeable lack of overshoot, gradational banding and posterisation in many torture scenes that I use to fully test every TV that comes in for review assessment. The opening fade from black in A Quiet Place Day 1 is significantly improved in Dolby Vision and HDR10 versions, along with the explosion aftermath seen in the bass. There's no banding, there's no posterisation being visible there. Plus, the G6 handles near black much better than G5, which is still prone to coming out of black or looking too bright too quickly, and it's not hitting true black in some scenes. The G6 is more composed and assured with these scenes. In a side-by-side with the G5, it's clear to see that the G6 is slower and darker to come out of black, so it can control any possible gradational issues better. If the content you watch has posterisation and gradational issues already baked into the content, then the G6 is really not going to be able to do anything with that content, and this is typically seen with some streaming service content. The G6 continues to use diagonal dithering. It's incredibly difficult to catch the effect on video, and the clips here, well, they're using a really high ISO setting that then shows up other issues on screen that are just not present on the G6 and G5 when viewed in person. So again, bear that in mind watching any clips here. And I didn't notice this with normal viewing material or from normal viewing distances. Even in pitch black conditions, I just couldn't see it. And it's a technique that is used to solve issues with near black posterisation and overshoot artefacts, so it has to be there. If you sit unusually close to the TV, you may notice this with fade to black or dark shadow scenes, but personally I only ever see it when using quantization test patterns, and I'm sat 2 feet from a 65-inch screen in the test room with no ambient light on at all. If you add in any ambient light, it just becomes almost impossible to see. And each of us sees things like this differently, so your mileage may vary and it may be an issue for an incredibly small number of users. The LG G6 OLED TV excels at reproducing 24 frame per second content and applies the correct pull down without adding judder or motion blur beyond what's already present in the source material. Because of OLED's nearly instantaneous pixel response, some viewers may notice judder more acutely than others. For those viewers, the cinematic motion setting in the True Motion menu offers a solution. This features AI and subtle interpolation technology to mitigate motion judder without introducing distracting soap opera effects. And while I personally can still detect that it's adding interpolation because I'm sensitive to it, many other users, probably the majority of other users, will find this setting completely acceptable. For those looking for out-of-the-box accuracy for movie and TV viewing, then the LG G6 in filmmaker mode is an excellent performer with superb black levels, copious amounts of shadow detail, and superb natural colours and lifelike skin tones. With HDR content, the G6 improves further on the excellent G5 from last year, and whilst subtle in the most part, the added brightness in the specular highlights and overall APL boost gives it an incredibly bright, vivid and cinematic HDR realism. You can now make out the shape of the sun behind the clouds in pan and see the detail in those clouds that have previously been clipped away and lost. You can see chrome edges reflecting light on the vehicles in Mad Max, and that adds more three-dimensionality to the image, making it feel more realistic. In skin tones, they're lifelike with diamond earrings and sequins on a dress that shimmer with natural-looking lighting and have detail rather than being clipped away. It's things like this that add to the experience and make images appear full of life, but it is subtle. And when it's called for, the G6 can produce a high APL scene with confidence and brighter than most other OLED panels out there, such as the loading program scene from The Matrix. When all said and done, there's not much in it between the G5 and G6 in this respect, but they are two of the very best OLED panels that I've seen handle this. There's no such thing as a perfect TV, and there's still a handful of little niggles here and there, but nothing as serious as the issues that we had last year on launch, and nothing that's going to hinder the performance in the majority of cases. The LG G6 stands out as a superb gaming TV thanks to its impressive connectivity and performance features. It's equipped with 4 full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports at 48 gigabits per second, and that enables high-spec gaming at 4K 165Hz and 4K 120Hz, including Dolby Vision HDR. And gamers will appreciate the inclusion of key technologies like NVIDIA G-Sync and AMD FreeSync Premium. There's also ALLM, which is auto low latency mode, and input lag is exceptionally low, measuring 9.2 milliseconds at 4K 60 and a blistering 4.7 milliseconds at 120 Hz. Combined with its exceptional picture quality, strong HDR performance, built-in gaming optimizer controls, and access to cloud gaming services, the G6 is clearly one of the best gaming TVs currently available. And we'll be expanding our gaming tests and features very soon, and again we'll feature the G6 in those articles and videos in more detail in the near future. Again, without sounding like a broken record, you're watching a video on YouTube with their compression applied, which does change the footage that I shot, and it can add artifacts like banding to the footage. Also remember that you're watching on a display that's probably not optimized, and the footage is filmed on a camera with limited dynamic range, so the footage that you see here is not how it actually looks in person. Using the current firmware, there's not a lot between the G5 and G6, and you won't notice any instant over-the-top night and day differences when you got them side by side and in proper calibrated modes like filmmaker mode. Some HDR specular highlights are a little bit brighter and more pronounced, with the sun looking sharper in the usual test scenes from pan on the G6. There's also some more detail in some of those shots that points to the push in the small window size results on the G6. When it comes to posterisation, gradation and overshoot, The G6, because of all the changes that we've already mentioned, it just manages this so much better, and posterisation is very rarely seen at all. Plus, another plus point is the lack of overshoot seen on darker edges of faces or arms, and it's a real trait of WRGB OLED screens. The often used test scene of Peter Pan lying down with shadows on his arm is clean, and it looks natural in the G6, while G5 still displays some overshoot artefacts. An interesting small difference in filmmaker mode is a very slight cyan tint that is only noticeable on G6 when it's in comparison. Plus, colours look ever so slightly more natural and with better gradational control in filmmaker mode on G6. This points to tuning from the LG engineers that they have added, in their opinion, to make it look more like the Sony BVM HX3110 grading monitor, so it matches closer in comparisons, which will be coming up this year with shootouts and all the rest of it. They want to win those things, and they've tuned the TV to get as close as possible to that particular grading monitor. They also state that filmmaker mode is more natural to the eye as a result of this, and I certainly didn't notice any issues with it at all. It looked incredibly good. The LG G6 is a stunning OLED TV that produces some of the most accurate out-of-the-box and calibrated results on the market. Added to this is the excellent brightness capabilities for use in several environments, along with superb black levels with excellent shadow detail retrieval and stunning natural looking colours and lifelike skin tones. Motion is also top rate, along with strong upscaling performance, making it a powerhouse TV for SDR movie watching. The small issues with posterisation, gradations and overshoot that caused the G5 to have a few issues on initial launch are gone with the G6, with much improved processing, removing most of the traces of posterisation and gradational issues that are not baked into the content. The LG G6 delivers excellent image quality, characterised by stunning colour accuracy and really impressive peak brightness, which vividly brings HDR movies to life. Its superb, natural and realistic looking peak highlights are fully detailed and completely free from clipping. For content mastered above 1000 nits, the G6 exhibits a notable increase in specular highlight performance. This capability leverages the panel and processing headroom, resulting in some of the very best available HDR image quality on the market. And this is the TV to beat in 2026. If you want to delve further and join the discussion, then head over to AVForums to read the full review. Also, don't just watch us, come and join one of the largest AV communities online at avforums.com, where hundreds of thousands of like-minded tech enthusiasts will be discussing this TV and much more, so head over and join the community. If you've enjoyed this review, then please make sure you press the like button and subscribe to AV Forums, and of course turn on those notification bells. We've got more TVs, projectors and audio reviews coming out every single week. I'm Phil Hinton, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.